For the first time since the conflict began, a moment has arrived that few inside Russia ever imagined would happen. A highly respected and well-known Russian general has publicly acknowledged what the Kremlin has repeatedly denied, that Russia is not winning, that the war has failed to achieve its goals, and that continuing on the same path will only deepen the country's crisis. Even more shocking, this general did something considered unthinkable in modern Russian politics. He openly called on President Vladimir Putin to step back. This admission did not come from a foreign critic, an opposition activist, or an exiled dissident. It came from within the system itself, from a man who spent decades serving the Russian military, leading troops, planning operations, and defending the state. His words have sent shockwaves through Moscow, military circles, and international observers alike, because they signal a crack in the very foundation of power that has sustained the Kremlin for years. In his public statement, delivered with a calm but unmistakably grave tone, the general admitted that Russia's strategic objectives have failed. He acknowledged that the initial expectations of a swift victory were disastrously wrong. What was supposed to be a short and decisive campaign turned into a prolonged and exhausting conflict, draining Russia's economy, manpower, and global standing. He spoke openly about the realities on the battlefield, realities that Russian state media has worked tirelessly to conceal. According to him, Russian forces have suffered heavy and continuous losses, not only in soldiers but also in experienced officers, advanced equipment, and morale. Entire units have been worn down, rotated out, and replaced by poorly trained conscripts and reservists who lack preparation for modern warfare. The general emphasized that the problem was not the courage of Russian soldiers. He made it clear that many troops fought bravely under extremely difficult conditions. Instead, he placed the blame squarely on flawed leadership, unrealistic planning, and political interference in military decision-making. He stated that battlefield realities were ignored in favor of narratives designed to please the Kremlin. One of the most striking parts of his statement was his admission that Russia underestimated its opponent. He acknowledged that Ukrainian forces adapted quickly, learned from early setbacks, and effectively integrated Western intelligence, weapons, and tactics. What Russia expected to be a fragmented resistance instead became a determined, coordinated defense that steadily improved over time. The general also pointed out that Russia overestimated its own capabilities. Years of corruption, inflated reports, and false readiness assessments created an illusion of strength that collapsed once real combat began. Equipment that looked impressive during parades failed on the battlefield. Supply lines broke down. Communication systems malfunctioned. Promises made on paper were never fulfilled in reality. As he continued, his criticism grew sharper. He warned that the war had isolated Russia internationally in ways that would take generations to undo. Economic sanctions, once dismissed as manageable, have deeply affected key industries, technological development, and long-term growth. He stated plainly that Russia is now paying the price for decisions made without honest debate or accountability. Perhaps the most explosive moment came when he addressed leadership directly. He argued that a nation at war requires adaptability, transparency, and trust between political and military institutions. According to him, Russia currently has none of these. He claimed that fear dominates decision-making, where commanders are punished for delivering bad news rather than rewarded for honesty. Then came the sentence that changed everything. The general said that continuing under the same leadership would only lead to further defeat and suffering. He declared that, for the good of Russia, President Vladimir Putin must step back and allow new leadership to take responsibility for repairing the damage. This statement crossed a line rarely crossed by insiders in Russia's power structure. Public criticism of the president, especially during wartime, is considered not just disloyal but dangerous. For a senior military figure to make such a demand openly suggests that dissatisfaction within elite circles may be deeper than previously believed. The reaction inside Russia was immediate and intense. State media initially ignored the statement, but as clips spread online and international outlets reported on it, the silence became impossible to maintain. Soon after, pro-Kremlin commentators began attacking the general's credibility, accusing him of betrayal, mental instability, or foreign influence. At the same time, many Russians quietly listened. For ordinary citizens who have watched prices rise, sons sent to the front, and freedoms shrink, his words resonated. Social media platforms, despite censorship, saw a surge of discussions, with some praising his courage and others expressing fear about what his fate might be. Internationally, analysts described the moment as unprecedented. Western officials noted that internal criticism from respected military figures could signal growing fractures within Russia's elite. Some experts cautioned against overestimating its immediate impact, but few denied its symbolic importance. The general also warned of the long-term consequences of denial. He stated that pretending the war is winnable under current conditions only delays the inevitable and increases the cost in human lives. According to him, Russia now faces a choice between painful honesty and catastrophic collapse. He argued that true patriotism is not blind loyalty to one leader, but loyalty to the nation and its people. He said that acknowledging defeat does not mean surrendering Russia's dignity. Instead, it offers a chance to rebuild, reform, and prevent further destruction. In one particularly emotional moment, he spoke about the soldiers who would never return home. He described families receiving official letters filled with vague language and empty praise, while the real reasons for their losses remained hidden. He called this moral failure as damaging as any military defeat. The general concluded by saying that history will judge those who remained silent more harshly than those who spoke out. He urged other officials, commanders, and citizens to confront reality before it is too late. His message was clear: Russia cannot move forward by clinging to illusions. Since his statement, rumors have spread about possible consequences. Some reports suggest he may face investigation, house arrest, or worse. Others claim he is being protected by allies within the military who share his concerns. The Kremlin has not officially commented, which only adds to the uncertainty. What happens next remains unclear. Will this moment fade under repression and propaganda, or will it inspire others to speak? Will the Kremlin tighten its grip further, or will internal pressure force change? These questions now loom over Russia's future. One thing, however, is certain: the public admission of defeat by a prominent Russian general marks a turning point in the narrative of this war. It shatters the image of unity and confidence carefully crafted by the state. It exposes the cost of silencing truth and elevates the voice of accountability, however briefly. In times of conflict, truth often becomes the first casualty, but sometimes, even in the most controlled systems, truth finds a way to surface. Whether this moment becomes a footnote or a catalyst depends on forces still unfolding. For now, the world watches closely as Russia faces not only external pressure, but an internal reckoning, one that challenges the leadership, the system, and the future direction of the nation itself.